Uh,
I wonder who in the entertainment industry has had that chance to find redemption. I mean, obviously Roman Polanski is working again in Hollywood now, despite what he did back in the 70s. But I guess that was the case of allowing time to heal all wounds, to the point where even the girl that he molested as an adult now is forgives him. But yeah, I do wonder, has there been any like more modern day examples of this?
Robert Downey Jr. Maybe. I was just about to mention him. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, yeah, that was he never really. I'm not sure. I was gonna say that he never hurt anyone in particular except his himself, but I'm sure him being, when it comes to drug addiction, you're not just hurting yourself, but also the people around you through your own actions. So it wasn't, I guess his problems were more, his personal issues were more private. Yeah. And yeah, I can definitely see him turning around and eventually finding redemption, and hopefully whatever people he hurt back in that during his lowest points, hopefully he was able to make amends with the people around him.
I think there was like a little promo piece. I forget where this was said on Facebook, because I post so many things throughout the week. It's hard to keep track of what I post and what I don't post.
Mm-hmm.
It said, a man that almost ruined his career due to drugs with Robert Downey Jr. It wasn't so much the drink. And I think it was, and he actually attributes this, it was actually a cheeseburger from Burger King that made him realize what he was doing was just because he said, I can't enjoy this cheeseburger that's this bad whilst I'm this high. He literally drove his car off to a cliff coast in Los Angeles, took all of the Coke that was in the back of his trunk and dumped it in the sea, and then went and said, I want to get clean. It's like, I don't want to do this no more. I want to get clean. Gets clean, plays a superhero, and is one of the most giving and inspirational men in Hollywood. It just ends with meet Robert Downey Jr. And if you look at how he has transformed his life around, from around the time that he first played Tony Stark to where he is now, I mean, he is not even remotely close to the person that he was when he was at his lowest point. And he has done so much for other people. But I don't know if you've ever seen this one particular clip. I think this was in just before or just after Age of Ultron came out. The story is
about the kid that got the prosthetic arm.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was a very nice clip.
Actually, when I saw that video,
I just thought it was just like such a touching gesture, because this is when they're taking what they're doing as a character and they're being more than the character. They're using it in such a positive and inspirational way, where that kid met his idol, met his hero, and he goes, do you know who this is? Iron Man. And you just hear just going, yes. But the thing that got me was when you actually saw that prosthetic 3D printed arm for the kid to have, whilst RDJ's got his one from Age of Ultron on his left arm. I thought, that kid's got to remember that for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I mean, that is where, like I say, on the subject of redemption, when RDJ is able to do something like that and make a kid's day seem that little bit brighter than any other day he's ever had, that is when it's like, past troubles forgotten. It's like, he can do no wrong now. He's got there. Another example, and although I don't have a lot of time for this WWE superstar's character, the person in what he has done ever since he was granted so many Make-A-Wish to kids when he was the most. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time for Cena the character, but when he goes and does this for every single Make-A-Wish, it's like, I can't speak ill of a man that goes out and does that. I mean, to take, to give up his free time and to go visit a kid that's either got 6 to 8 months to live or, has just had something traumatic happen to them, and they go and say, I want to meet John Cena because that'll make my life actually feel that little less dark. And he goes and puts a smile on their face. That's like, you can't say anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's a similar way. Whenever Hasselhoff made appearances at conventions and parties as Michael Knight, imagine what that does for the kids that watch Knight Rider in the 80s, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's Michael Knight. What do I do? It's just little things like that. And anytime, Henry Cavill shows up as Superman, they're being more than the character. They're using it in the most positive way possible. And again, I can't really stress anything further than that. And again, when you do something like that, whereby you're actually doing something good, and it has no benefit to you, other than it strengthens your reputation, which I suppose in a way that actually benefits them, but it's benefiting the person of whom they're spending their time with to actually put that smile on their face. And yeah, I think if you're able to do something like that, then it's when it's like, if you like to think of redemption as a brass ring that you're trying to achieve and grab hold of, that's that moment where you've done it. That's where you've not only been forgiven, but you're allowed to forgive yourself. And because there's a line in Spider-Man 3, and I think most of you know what I'm talking about. It's just before the third act, before he puts the red and blue suit back on, and he has Aunt May come over and said, I hurt her. I don't know if I can go through it. And Rosemary Harris just says, and I quote, "You have to do the hardest thing first. Forgive yourself." Because in order, and this is where it's probably getting a little too philosophical, in order for someone to forgive you, you've got to be able to look at yourself and say, I can't change it, but I've got to be able to move past this and before someone else can forgive me, because you can't beat yourself up forever. Because then you just dwell on the subject and nobody moves forward, and that's not progress.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting too philosophical these days.
I'm the same way, bro. Don't worry about it.
It was a very heavy. This is a very heavy episode of Skull.
Yeah.
But with regards to someone like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, I think they would have to get to such a humbled spot in their careers and their personal lives where they just take a good look at themselves in the mirror and then say, okay, what do I have to do to turn this around? Not just as a means of restoring their reputation, but what do I have to do to turn this around to make this right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, Cosby's going to have very little bit amount of time to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he almost went to jail for that. I'm like, ooh, that would have been a real kick in the groin if he had gone to prison for all of that.
Yeah. Also, but knowing his luck and his star power, he could probably go to is able to manipulate the court and able to go to a minimum security prison for only 2 months, and probably would get out after 1 for good behavior.
Oh, that's true.